Hello, and today we are going to go over credits and refunds. So I'm going to go ahead and start on the patient summary, which is the screen we are currently looking at. We're going to first look at the accounting pod within my patient summary, and this is where you can see patient balances, insurance balances, family balances, as well as the patient credit and the family credits. The family credit is a summary of all patient credits for that family. We're going to go ahead and expand the account pod. As you can see on the right-hand side, we have our account summary, which is what we were seeing on the last page. Underneath the account summary, we have the Adhoc Credit button. Adhoc Credit is any credit not generated from a sale or an invoice. An example of this are credits brought over from other softwares, referral credits, or office credits. So if your office decided to give a patient $20 towards their next visit, that would be an ad hoc credit. If the patient paid you $20 for copay and you need to refund them because they no longer owe that copay, that is not an ad hoc credit. To generate an ad hoc credit, you're simply going to press the ad hoc credit button. You will enter in how much you want to credit them, the location, the date, and a description. As you can see, now my patient credit is $50. If I wanted to apply this credit to an invoice, I'm going to open up one of the patient's owing invoices. I'm going to authorize it, receive payment. I'm going to put the amount in that I want to apply, and my payment method is going to be credit. Now, if you are not seeing this option in your payment method dropdown, that is because you need to enable it as one of your payment preferences, which can be done under System Admin, General, Practice Preferences, Payment Preferences. And then going to apply the $50 to this line item, save, and apply. Now, I am not going to actually apply this payment because I want to show you how to avoid the credit if it was done in error. I'm going to go back to my patient. If I ad hoc a credit to a patient's account and it was either the wrong amount or it was not supposed to be an ad hoc credit, I can void my credit by going to the Credit History tab and then selecting the red X to the right of the credit. I'm going to put in a good reason as to why I'm voiding this. And now my patient credit is back to zero. If the patient paid for a service or they paid for an optical order such as eyeglasses, contacts, credits and refunds are going to be handled differently. I'm going to go ahead and change my invoice status search to paid. And I'm going to open up my invoice from today. So this is a paid invoice for a pair of glasses that Harry got. In order to make any changes to this invoice, I need to make it active again. Paid is not a permanent status. I'm going to select the pencil icon to the right of where it said paid, change my dropdown to active, and press the check. Now I'm going to make it pending. If this patient decided that he did not want any of the glasses, I would simply just remove all of the items. If the patient just decided they did not want a specific item, or we are going to be doing a partial credit and or refund, then we're not going to remove all the items off the invoice. So in this case, the patient is no longer getting the frame, And we're going to go ahead and give him a courtesy discount on the lenses as well. As you can see, even though these line items are paid, when I apply my discount, it creates a negative balance, and that's what I want to see. So right now, balance is $199.40. This is not your credit yet. This is simply a negative balance on your invoice. In order to grant credit or refund the patient, at this point, I'm going to select the ellipse or the 3 dots, and I'm going to choose grant credit. My grant credit modal has a bunch of options. I can choose to credit the patient. I can choose to transfer this credit to a family member by using the credit family member option. I can refund the patient directly from here, and I can refund a family member. You can use just one option for this whole balance, or you can split it up. We're going to split it up so that you can see what it looks like when you use different options. So I'm going to credit the patient $75. I'm going to credit the family member $100. And I'm going to refund them $24.40. I'm going to select my payment method of how I'm refunding this. I can put a reference number if I need to, and the location that I'm refunding them. So crediting the patient means I'm putting $75 on Harry's account to either be refunded at a later date, or I can use this money towards another purchase. Crediting a family member means that I'm transferring $100 of Harry's negative balance to Ginny. We could also refund directly from Ginny's account, or I could use this $100 towards an owing invoice for Ginny. Refunding my patient from here will refund this amount. It's not actually going to put the money back on the card. It is just marking that you refunded that money in Revolution. If you have not refunded the money outside of Revolution, I do not recommend that you mark it as refunded in here until you have done that. That way you can keep track of the money that needs to be given back. There are 2 ways to refund the patient. This is one way. We will go over the other way in a bit. Refunding a patient here will connect this refund to the provider. So my provider is Krista. So this refund is going to be marked under her name, and it's going to be put on the date that I've marked it as refunded. So it's going to mark it as November 23rd because that is the day that I'm marking it as being refunded within Revolution. If you need to backdate a refund, you're going to want to do it the second way. So I'm going to go ahead and press save. Now you can see all of these system notes on my invoice. I can see that I issued a $75 credit to the patient, a $100 credit to Ginny. I issued a $24.40 credit to a patient and then refunded that $24.40. Anytime you refund directly from the invoice, you're going to see both of these notes because it's crediting and refunding at the same time. These are just system notes. You can remove these system notes off the invoice by making it active and minusing the system notes off. But removing them is not going to remove the refund or the credit. That has to be done from the patient's account pod. So we're going to hop back over to Harry's account. So now I have my $75 credit. If I go to my credit history, I can see my $75 credit that I issued. I can see my $24.40 credit that is connected to my refund. And if I go to my refund history, I can see my credit card reversal for the $24.40. If I was to look at Ginny's account, I would see a $100 credit under her. If I now needed to refund this $75 back to the patient, I'm going to use the refund button underneath this account summary on the right-hand side. This is the second way you can refund a patient. Refunding here will not connect the refund to a provider, and it will allow me to backdate a refund. So I'm going to go ahead and select refund. I am going to refund my full $75 back. It's going to be a credit card reversal. I will select the location the refund's going to be connected to. I will put my date. So let's say I actually refunded this on Friday. I can put a reference number and I can put my comment. And now you can see my patient no longer has a patient credit. If I go to refund history, I can now see the $75 that I refunded. As you can see, my refund that I did from the account pod is not connected to an invoice because it pulled my refund from the patient credit. Whereas the refund that I did from the invoice is connected to the invoice. If I needed to void a credit or a refund, I'm going to do that from my refund history and credit history tabs. Now, I am not going to be able to credit or void anything until my invoice is marked as active. If I was to void now, I would get an error. I'm going to go ahead and open my invoice. I'm going to go ahead and make it active. And now that my invoice is active, I can start making changes. So let's say I wanted to void the $24.40 refund that I initially did. So I'm going to go over to my refund history tab. I'm going to click the red void button. So I voided my refund. The reason I needed to void the refund before voiding the credit is because the refund is the last step that was made for that refund. If I had tried to void the credit before I had voided the refund, I would have gotten an error. Now that I voided my refund, you can see that the patient now has a $24.40 credit. And if I want to go void my credit, I go into my credit history tab, click the red X, put my reason, and apply. That money is now back on the patient's invoice as a negative balance, which I will show you in just a moment. You can see any voided credits and refunds by selecting the void status button at the top. If I want to look at all, so granted and voided, I can view all, just applied, or just voided. Same with the refund. I can view all my refunds, voided and applied, or just voided. If I open up my invoice, you will now see the negative balance of $24.40 on my invoice. I can then make any adjustments I needed. So if I wanted to grant credit again, I can credit my amount. The last thing I want to show you is the family credit. So if you'll remember, we granted $100 to Ginny. I'm going to go back to my patient summary. You can see that my family credit is $124.40. This does not mean that the patient has $124.40 plus the additional $24.40. The total family credit amount is $124.40 because it's a sum of all the family members' credits. So Ginny has a $100 credit, Harry has $24.40 as a credit, so that makes my total family credit $124.40. If I forgot which family member had that $100 credit on it, I can go ahead and expand my family contacts pod, and there is a column for my credit. So I can see that Ginny has the $100 credit on her account right here. And if I open up her chart, you would see that $100 credit. That is the end of our credits and refunds video. If you have any questions, please contact customer support by selecting the question mark in the top right-hand corner of Revolution. There's a contact support option, which includes the phone number to call into customer support. You can also use our live chat feature down in the bottom right-hand corner. I hope you have a wonderful day.